have all of you here. I am Mohini, and I'm hosting these sessions on a weekly basis just because all of us are looking for things to do online. And I've started this initiative called Mother Tongue Twisters, where I'm collecting and curating Indian language poetry for young readers around the country, around the world. And it's really to discover sounds and rhymes in different languages, mostly targeted at young readers, but not limited to that. And yeah, so these sessions are called Translation Thursdays, and it's for anybody who's either a translator, not a translator, interested in knowing more about translation, translated text, poetry, enjoys listening to different languages. So it's really for anyone who is willing to spare some time to listen to translations or talk about translation. So it's really, I'm calling it a virtual meetup as opposed to sessions or panel discussions. So I hope this format works. We only just started this last week, and it's great to have so many of you here for the first session with a speaker with us. So today's guest speaker is Mamta Sagar. She is a wonderful poet, translator, playwright, and if you listen to her poetry, and you'll hear some of it today. Like I said, Mamta is a wonderful poet, translator, playwright. What I find most amazing about her work is not just her focus on sounds and rhymes, but also how she uses her poetry and translations as a form of resistance. And I think a lot of us don't think of translation as an act of resistance or as a sort of activism. But Mamta has been absolutely amazing in the way she has used poetry and translation as her tool to express her resistance. And we'll hear some examples. If you have any questions or thoughts around it, if anybody else would like to go after Mamta and read out something, absolutely welcome. So first I'm going to hand over to Mamta. Thank you so much, Mamta, for being our first speaker in our Translation Thursday sessions. I'm really glad there are people here. I was really worried that there would be absolutely nobody, but I'm really glad that it's reached some of you and you're here. So Mamta, I'm going to hand over to you now. Thank you, and looking forward to hearing your poems.
Okay. Thank you, Mohini. And, amongst us, we have one more person who's been a catalyst in bringing all of us together. That's Alexandra. And lovely to have you, Alexandra, in this session. And let us know about her after a while. So we have been, most of us, we have been writing poetry for ourselves, writing poetry since many, many years. I have been writing poetry since past 35 years. And I am a Kannada poet. I write only in Kannada, but I translate in and out. And yeah, I'm also part of many translation projects all over the world. One is Literature Across Frontiers, run by Alexandra, and German unit, another one, which is called Poets Translating Poets, and many more, the local ones where some of us have come together and we are translating a lot into Kannada. I also curate a poetry event called Kavya Sanjay. Kavya is poetry, as you know, Sanjay is evening. This Kavya Sanjay is kind of a gathering, get together, events which are curated around, it's a community poetry event where more than poets reading their poems, people will read poems by others, mostly in translation. So we'll bring in poems from all over the world into Kannada translations, sometimes read Kannada and English translations of the poems. Or if we get the reader, we read the original Kannada and English. So I've been running Kavya Sanjay since 2013. Now coming to translation and poetry, connection between poetry and translation is usually poets, when we begin writing, we think that we are really, of course we are very good poets. We always think that we are very good, and we start writing and we keep writing, quickly we write, and poem happens when you edit it, not when you write it. So a poem can be crafted. It is like, I always keep telling, like um, it is like carpentry, you know, you can't make one leg of a table lesser, which it should stay on the ground. So poetry is the craft of poetry, editing of poetry is like that, you know, not even one little sound should be extra, not even one little metaphor should be distorted. Like when you read a poem, you should be able to see it visually, experience it. So yeah, and maybe that is gained by not just writing, but by reading a lot, reading aloud. Poetry should be read aloud. According to me, my kind of work is I usually read all the poems aloud. Um, it all began, let me share a little bit how it began, you know. So I am a non-believer, you know, I believe in people, I believe in affection, love, and I believe in sustaining solidarity and secular democratic space for everyone. But I don't believe that some God will come and change the world, you know, it's we who have to change the world. So, but you know, it doesn't mean that you have to keep everything away, because people have been mixing God, religion, and poetry at some point of time in India. You know, we need to, poetry is poetry, poems, you know, like when I was small, I used to hear a lot of mantras from the temples and inside the house, outside the house, and I would kind of rap around it. I would recite it. I would go on reciting it. So when you recite something which you don't know, only hear, like songs, you know, film songs from some other language, you know, if you recite, you can relish the sound pattern of that particular rhythm or rhyme thing which is going on. So if you go on reciting, like when you're really, really young, you will not know what is what, but you learn the rhymes. As you grow up, you will realize that, well, I was pronouncing this in a different way. It is not this, it means this. So therefore, the meaning comes only later. So the sound is something very, very important. Every Indian language or every language in the world, any language you take, every language has an innate quality of sound that is generated. And it's important to use those sounds and start playing with it, start working on it. And it's so beautiful to have these sounds. And I would now want to read one little poem of mine. Um, which is quite okay. I will read it in Kannada first, then read the translation, or maybe read the translation first, then do the Kannada. Like this, on the page, the song, like the tattooed design is the song. From the page, the word sounds. Sound the words one behind the other. Chain of words sound. Chain of words sound. Let float in breeze. There the song. Now, on the page. On the page, the song is words. Silent is song. This is translated by me. Now I would like to present the Kannada thing. So, reading a poem, rendering a poem, performing a poem is very different from writing a poem. When you write a poem, the poem is on the page. You write it on the page. When you render it, when you read it, when you perform it, it takes a different, the text takes a different form altogether. ಹೀಗೆ ಹಾಳೆಯ ಮೇಲೆ ಹಾಡು ಹಚ್ಚೆ ಹೊಯ್ದ ಚಿತ್ತಾರದ ಹಾಗೆ ಹಾಡು ಹಾಳೆಯಿಂದೆದ್ದು ಶಬ್ದ ಅದರ ಹಿಂದೊಂದು ಶಬ್ದ ಶಬ್ದ ಶಬ್ದಗಳ ಸರಣಿ ಗಾಳಿಯಲ್ಲಿ ತೇಲಿ ಬಿಟ್ಟರೆ ಹಾಡು ಈಗ ಹಾಳೆಯ ಮೇಲೆ ಹಾಡು ಶಬ್ದ ಹಾಡು ನಿಶ್ಶಬ್ದ So this is a poem about the printed poem and the sound and the word. It's Shabda, as you know, Shabda. Shabda is also sound, Shabda is also word. Playing with the meaning, playing with the sound, playing with everything, you know, it allows you to perform the poem in completely a different way. I would read the same poem now again. Um, ಹೀಗೆ ಹಾಡು ಹಾಳೆಯ ಮೇಲೆ ಹಾಡು ಹಚ್ಚೆ ಹೊಯ್ದ ಚಿತ್ತಾರದ ಹಾಗೆ ಹಾಡು 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 ಹೀಗೆ ಹಾಡು ಹಾಡು ಹಾಳೆಯಿಂದೆದ್ದು ಹಾಡು ಶಬ್ದ ಹಾಡು ಶಬ್ದ ಶಬ್ದ ಅದರ ಹಿಂದೊಂದು ಶಬ್ದ ಶಬ್ದ ಹಾಡು ಶಬ್ದ ಶಬ್ದ ಹಾಡು ಶಬ್ದ ಶಬ್ದಗಳ ಮೇಲೆ ಸರಣಿ ಸರಣಿಗಳ ಮೇಲೆ ಸರಣಿ ಸರಣಿ ಶಬ್ದ ಶಬ್ದ ಗಾಳಿಯಲ್ಲಿ ತೇಲಿ ಬಿಟ್ಟರೆ ಹಾಡು ಹೀಗೆ ಗಾಳಿಯಲ್ಲಿ ಶಬ್ದ ತೇಲಿ ಬಿಟ್ಟರೆ ಹಾಡು ಈಗ ಹಾಳೆಯ ಮೇಲೆ ಹಾಡು ಶಬ್ದ ಹಾಡು ನಿಶ್ಶಬ್ದ ನಿಶ್ಶಬ್ದ ಹಾಡು ಶಬ್ದ ಹಾಡು ಶಬ್ದ ನಿಶ್ಶಬ್ದ ನಿಶ್ಶಬ್ದ. So the performance or rendering of a poem can be completely different. It is like singing a raga, you know, singing, and you go on playing with the raga. You go on playing with the sound, playing with the meaning, playing with a particular word, and start making more meanings out of it. When you displace something from a set of writing, you know, you just displace a line, displace a word, displace a metaphor, put it with some other metaphor, something else will happen. So the performance will also allow you to do all these. Am I supposed to also read the chat, Mohini, as I do this?
It can keep popping up, but you can continue with the reading now. And
because that might disturb me. I will not answer right now for the chats. But yes.
Yeah.
So I was trying to talk about the sound. Now comes the translation. So the sounds of other languages, you know, like as I told you, every language has an inbuilt kind of a sound. So I don't know now, most of you, all of you, including Mohini, are from a completely different generation. I don't know if you have listened to the transistors or not, the radio transistors. Okay. So when we were young, you know, in the night in summer holidays, I would only play with the transistors. Midnight, you go on meddling with it. You hear all kinds of sounds. We used to get a Russian channel. And the sound of the language was so beautiful, and I would listen to that. I didn't know what it was. I knew it was Russian, but I would imitate it. The sound is very, very important to do something with it. So an unknown language, completely alien language, and the sounds with it, usually what I do is, when my poem is translated into a language, usually what we do is translators sit together, the poet and the translator. We sit together, and all of us as translators, most of us are familiar with this. We sit together. First of all, we do a rough draft of whatever we have to do. When we sit together, we work on the language and the sound and the meaning. Okay, so the translation happens as a collaboration. It is not independent. Most of my works which are translated into whatever language is a kind of a collaboration with the translator rather than me translating my work or independently doing anything. So once it is done, the translator is familiar with the sounds of that language. I am familiar with the sound of my language. And you put both the sounds together. Now comes music, you know. When you put both the sounds together, what you generate is like one of the readings in Nicaragua, what we did was, people knew Spanish. They didn't know Kannada. And a few of my poems were translated into a language called Cebuano, which is spoken in Philippines. So this friend of mine, Marjorie Ivasco, one of the amazing poets, she read the Cebuano, I read the Kannada. We played with it. After which the Spanish translation was read. So when you bring two sounds together, two language sounds together, and you either mix it or put it one after the other, however you arrange the poem, you know, so it becomes a new poem. Every translation, as we know, is a new poem. Translation cannot replicate. It's not a drawback of the translation. It's an added advantage of the translation. The translation cannot translate. Translation can create. You know, that's amazing. Translators should know that they are creators. You know, writing poem is easy. Translating is really, really difficult. You need to create something completely different and locate it within your sound design pattern of the language, culture, meanings, everything. So we were thinking of bringing in three elements into this talk. The first one is the most popular, recently controversial, recently loved and hated, and hated is not the word. It was never hated. You know, the beautiful poem by Fayaz Ahmed Fayaz. Everybody knows what I'm talking about. Hum Dekhenge. Okay. So with Hum Dekhenge, people have seen the word. Hum Dekhenge, people said, well, let me see. With Hum Dekhenge, people just said, we are there. We are the ones, you know. So Hum Dekhenge brought all of us together for different reasons at different times, different point of junctures. Hum Dekhenge has been there all through the political history, socio-political history of undivided India and also later. I think everybody knows about Fayaz. If you don't know about Fayaz, maybe you can later check online on Fayaz and also this particular poem. I think I can see you, but you can't hear it, is it? Is there a problem hearing?
No, it's fine.
Okay.
All good.
So let us first, maybe you should just briefly introduce Fayaz Ahmed Fayaz. Okay. And later on, I will talk a little bit about Hum Dekhenge. Then you can read Hum Dekhenge in Urdu.
I mean, I'm hoping that Faiz Ahmed Faiz would not need an introduction with this audience. So maybe what I can do is, what I can do is read out the Urdu version of the poem.
Yeah.
Song poem. And
okay,
then,
no, like when I said Hum Dekhenge, you know, you could tell them a little bit about when it was written. Should I? Okay. Yeah, Fayaz wrote this poem as a resistance to within Pakistan, you know, and also the Islamic whatever, you know, the authoritative thing, and he resisted it through this poem at one point of time. Ziaul Haq's regime was contested through a poem. So one thing I want to tell you is poetry is not just something that happens on the page. It always shows its work beyond the page. So poem, as she was introducing me, it's a tool for hers and for many of the poets to deal with ourselves and this world, you know. And Fayaz's poem, Hum Dekhenge, dealt with the politics, dealt with the conservativeness of a nation and the oppression and the suppression that went through in a given point of time. So now let us read Fayaz's Hum Dekhenge in Urdu. Mohini will read it for us. Yes, please.
I will try to do it justice. It's odd to sort of read it and not sing it, but I will just recite it for us to have a sense.
Can anybody sing in the group?
Is there anyone here who can sing Hum Dekhenge? Anybody who's
they can sing it later. Maybe you should read. In the meanwhile, let them think whether they can sing or not. Yeah.
तो हम देखेंगे, लाजिम है कि हम भी देखेंगे वो दिन की जिसका वादा है, जो लौहे अज़ल में लिखा है, जब जुल्म सितम के कोहे करां धूम की तरह उड़ जाएंगे। हम महकूमों के पांव तले ये धरती धड़ धड़ धड़केगी और अहले हकम के सर ऊपर जब बिजली कड़कड़ कड़केगी। जब अर्ज़े खुदा के काबे से सब बुत उठवाए जाएंगे, हम अहले सफा मरदूद हरम मसनद पे बैठाए जाएंगे। सब ताज उछाले जाएंगे, सब तख्त गिराए जाएंगे। बस नाम रहेगा अल्लाह का, जो गायब भी है हाजिर भी, जो मंजर भी है नाजिर भी। उठेगा अनल हक का नारा, जो मैं भी हूँ तुम भी हो, और राज करेगी खल्के खुदा, जो मैं भी हूँ और तुम भी हो।
Thank you, Mohini. You know, I have been listening to this song since many years, because this song has been used by many of them in both India and Pakistan during whatever protest, whatever resistance. The song has been used for that, you know, beyond its origin, how it came up or why it came up. Beyond that, you know, it's been used. And the most beautiful rendition is Iqbal Bano. And I think you should listen to Iqbal Bano's rendition of Hum Dekhenge. And it's not just a rendition. She was also resisting through singing this poem of fires, you know. And when she sings, it's not just the song, it's not just the meaning, the visual of Iqbal Bano, the way she sings, very politely she says, well, hum dekhenge. She does this, you know, okay, we won't spare you, kind of a thing. You know, I just fell in love with Iqbal Bano since many years, you know. I just love her singing. So I am into listening to music, you know. So this was already there in my mind. And I used to always sing this every now and then, you know, keep singing this song. So, like Iqbal Bano, now that we are talking about singing, I keep diverting. Please excuse me for this. So, there is one other person whom you have to hear is Ustad Nasiruddin Sami. Ustad Nasiruddin Sami is another amazing singer from Lahore, who is from Dilli Gharana. Please listen to him. And you will know how music is itself is a kind of a voice for resisting many things. So now let's come back to Iqbal Bano. So I just love Iqbal Bano and her rendition. So this was always there in my mind. And recently during the CAA protests and other protests, you know, this song became a culprit. The poem became a culprit. The poem was condemned. Poem was condemned for various reasons. First is for not understanding the poem. The second is so much of, like, even the quarantine that we are going through, and the coronavirus, poor coronavirus. There was a cartoon recently by one of the amazing cartoonists from Kannada, P. Mohammed, and he had written that nowadays poor corona is also infected with communal virus, you know. So even corona is infected in India. So Hum Dekhenge was also infected. Yes. People who actually, you know, could not understand. You know, poems are so beautiful. Poems are like feathers, you know. If you know how to feel it, you will feel it. If you don't know how to feel it, it will just fly away, or it will to murj jayega. It will just crumple away. So you need to know how to feel the poem. So Hum Dekhenge is a very powerful feather. Yeah, and so as it came in, as people started singing it all over, and as people started finding faults about the poem, as you know, I won't go into details. You can get all the details online, so I will not waste time on that. So I just thought, it is time I need to, I had first time when it was sung in JNU, I had started translating it. I thought this is something which should be translated, which should go around. So I started translating, and I got stuck in a point where this particular para about जब अर्ज़े खुदा के काबे से and and then बस नाम रहेगा अल्लाह का. Okay, so strangely this Bhagavan is always understood as a male. Okay, the God is always understood as a male. I always have a problem with that. Okay, and Allah is not understood as a God. Within the context, within our contemporary context, we actually don't know how to feel a feather. We don't even know how to feel the God. So this inability to feel love, inability to feel God, inability to feel the feather, the texture of the feather, the softness of the feather, also made us fail to feel or understand Hum Dekhenge. So I decided to translate this, but when it came to that, I was just wondering, how do I deal with this? I wanted to translate the context of the poem, the strength of the poem, and not literally do it, and because it was always understood as something which is against the Hindus, it's very easy to, there are hundreds of things against everyone in this country, So this particular poem was put to take, and people started talking all kinds of things about this poem. So now, as a translator, how do I deal with this? This is extremely political, and whatever I'm going to do is something which I really, really have to do, and I've taken it up as a task, and I need to work on it. So then came my readings of Vachanas from the 12th century. So please Google in and look for Vachanas later. Vachanas are the 12th century speeches by people, who were involved in the socio-political resistances against hierarchies, all kinds of hierarchies. It's a philosophical, at the same time, political and social kind of writings which were later in the 19th century called as poems and were categorized under poetry. So Vachanas, during that period, the Vachana movement, women wrote, people from all marginalized castes wrote, people spoke about bodies, people spoke about against power, people could speak against hierarchies, people really, really could come to a kind of a non-hierarchical state, and when it was almost achieved, the Vachanakaras were massacred and killed. So this whole notion, every Kannadiga and beyond Kannadiga also, people know what Vachanas are. We use Vachanas in everyday life to quote, to talk about politics, to talk about society, talk about anything and everything. Vachanas are used. So Vachanas came to my help. See, Vachanakaras, those Vachanakaras are people who wrote Vachanas, who composed Vachanas. So for Vachanakaras, God was Shiva. The entire thing was a Shaivite movement against a Vaishnavite movement. Okay, so but that Shiva was not a Shiva with a Ganga on the head and a snake in the neck and Shiva somebody who's sitting in the Kailash. Each one could imagine his or her own Shiva. See, if we can imagine our own God, what else is needed? The God can be anything. God can be abstract. God can be beyond anything. God can be inside us. God can be touched. God can be felt. God can be, see, the whole touching, and feeling during this quarantine becomes very, very important. So Vachanas allowed us to touch God, to feel God. Therefore, and it also said, God never stays in the temple. You know, this body is temple. God stays here. So if you are pure, if pure in this, pure is a very damaging word maybe now, right now. I don't want to use it. Please, I'll take it back. But God is something. But the God was male during Vachanakaras. When I translated, I didn't want my God to be a male. So I had to use uh, the language in such a way that the God is beyond gender, neither male nor female nor anything. The God could be anything, everything. So, instead of throwing the idols out, what I did was let the God itself come out of the temple. So when God starts walking out of the temple, then you can touch, because you're not allowed inside the temple. The temple belongs to people who believe that there should be a temple. So we don't believe, I don't believe. So when God leaves the temple, discards the temple and walks on the streets, people on the streets, people on the margins, people who are pushed to the ends can touch this God. People can hold the hands, and only then the temple crumbles, the powers crumble, the authorities crumble. It took 3 months for me to get this passage done like this. I'm so happy that there was a tool within my linguistic culture, the poetic culture, that allowed me to translate something else, which was so contemporary, so relevant, which I could answer to those people who want to make this country into a Hindu Rashtra. This is not a Hindu Rashtra. This is a secular democratic country where each one of us want to live happily. We want to be together, and I could answer this through my own tools. So that means each one of us, in each one of our languages, in our classics. See, I began telling you that when I was small, I used to listen to these mantras. It's very important to listen to something, learn something, and then discard it. Because everything is poetry. All these mantras are poetry. And most of them are like, once you start reciting it, once you start learning it, you will also know why you should discard it. See, the biggest problem with us is we discard it without learning. But people circulate it without knowing. Therefore, it gets circulated so popular and it just gets fire-like and it goes around and spreads all poison. So if you learn it as a poem, learn it as poetry, you know how to deal with it. And I lived in Hyderabad for 15 years. And if people have gone to Hyderabad, you will know that the King Koti is a very crowded place. Okay. So this crowded place, whoever came from Bangalore, I was supposed to take them for a tour. I usually go, So I was so scared of these people rush. I would start reciting. श्रीवनिते रसन विमल राजीव पीठन पितन जगकति पावन सनकादि सज्जन निकर दातार रमणासुर मतन सदा विनूतन कथन कारण काउदान मृदुगिन पीर नारायण. This is a 15th century piece from Kumaravyasa, from Mahabharata, Kumaravyasa Bharata. And it was so easy to cross the road. The whole crowd and this sound and this fast beats and rhythm, would allow me to move fast. You can rap it. It's so beautiful. Alala anta galugaadutiddavala turammana jopadi tangi nagarigaladiyaagi. So whatever I learned, I would recite. Right from the toilet to the road. Everything makes easy. Poetry makes life easier and also makes life tougher. It is so, so beautiful. Now I would like to read the translation of Amde Kenge in Kannada. And then I will request Mohini to play I will read this and share my experience about the first time we presented it in public. Okay. ನಾವು ನೋಡೋಣ ನೋಡೋಣ ನಾವು ನೋಡೋಣ ನೋಡೇ ಬಿಡೋಣ ನೋಡೇ ಬಿಡೋಣ ಅದೇನಂತ ನಾವು ನೋಡೋಣ ಆಣೆ ಮಾಡಿಟ್ಟಂಥ ಆ ದಿನವ ಶಾಸನದಲ್ಲಿ ಬರೆದಿಟ್ಟ ಆ ದಿನವ ನೋಡೋಣ ನೋಡೋಣ ನಾವು ನೋಡೋಣ ದಬ್ಬಾಳಿಕೆಯ ಒತ್ತಡದ ಬೆಟ್ಟಗಳು ಹತ್ತಿಯ ಹಾಗೆ ಹಾರಿ ಹೋಗೋದ ನೋಡೋಣ ನಾವು ನೋಡೋಣ ಅಂಚಿಗಿಟ್ಟವರ ಕಾಲ ಕೆಳಗೇನೆ ಈ ಭೂಮಿ ಗಡ 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 ನಡುಗೋದ ಆಳೋ ಪ್ರಭುಗಳ ತಲೆ ಮೇಲೆ ಸಿಡಿಲು ಸಿಡಿ 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 ಸಿಡಿಯೋದ ನೋಡೋಣ ನಾವು ನೋಡೋಣ ಕರುಣೆಯೇ ದೇವರು ಕರುಣೆಯೇ ದೇವರು ಆದಾಗ ಆ ದೇವರು ಗುಡಿಯಾಚೆ ನಡೆದಾಗ ಆ ದೇವರು ಗುಡಿಯಾಚೆ ನಡೆದಾಗ ಕಳ್ಳಿಸಿಕೊಂಡ ನಮಗೆಲ್ಲ ಆ ದೇವರ ಸನಿಹ ಸಿಕ್ಕಾಗ ಗದ್ದಿಗಳೆಲ್ಲ ಉರುಳೋದ ಅಧಿಕಾರಗಳು ನೆಗೆದು ಬೀಳೋದ ನೋಡೋಣ ನಾವು ನೋಡೋಣ ನೋಡೇ ಬಿಡೋಣ ಅದೇನಂತ ನಾವು ನೋಡೋಣ ಕಡೆಗೂ ಉಳಿಯೋದು ದೇವರು ತಾನೇ ಕಣ್ಣಿಗೆ ಕಂಡು ಕಾಣದೆಯೂ ನೋಡುವಂಥದ್ದಾಗಿ ನೋಡುಗವಾಗಿ ಏಳುತ್ತದೆ ಹಕ್ಕಿನ ಕೂಗು ಏಳುತ್ತದೆ ಹಕ್ಕಿನ ಕೂಗು ಅಲ್ಲಿ ನಾ ಇರುವೆ ನೀನು ಇರುವೆ ಆಗ ಆಳುತ್ತಾರೆ ಈ ಜನವೆಲ್ಲ ಅದು ನನ್ನಂಥವರು ಹಾಗೂ ನಿನ್ನಂಥವರು ನೋಡೋಣ ನಾವು ನೋಡೋಣ ನೋಡೇ ಬಿಡೋಣ ಅದೇನಂತ ನಾವು ನೋಡೋಣ I read this poem in Shaheen Bagh last month. I was there at Shaheen Bagh before everything closed down, and it was amazing singing this poem and reading this poem to people in Shaheen Bagh. Similarly, in Bilal Bagh, that was there in Bangalore, we went and read many poems from Kavya Sanjay, and this poem was also written. First time when I completed this poem in 3 months, I took almost 3 months. I told you about that particular para which held me, you know. After this, I sent this to Pallavi, MD Pallavi, who is an amazing singer in Kannada, and requested her whether she can sing it. And then came Bindu Malini, another amazing singer. Both of them, you know, they decided to sing it together. And we used to have every day protests in front of Town Hall in Bangalore. And that particular day, see, I am getting goosebumps when I tell you, when I share this with you, you know, that particular day, there was a big sea of people sitting on the steps of Town Hall. And there were many police behind us, recording, listening to us, seeing this. And when Pallavi and Bindu started singing it, you know, the whole crowd, you know, when we said, Hakkina Nara, people started chanting it, you know. And it was such a beautiful moment in my life. And once it was finished, people requested them to sing it again. We sang again. And many of the police people came and congratulated us and congratulated me for translating this. And both the singers for singing this. And this poem, this particular translation is not just a translation. It is like a kind of, it went like, it went like viral all over Karnataka and beyond Karnataka, you know. And see, T.M. Krishna sang it in Shaheen Bagh when he was there. He sang all the 4 languages, 4 South Indian languages. He also sang this number from Kannada, which I had translated. So T.M. Krishna singing, you should listen to T.M. Krishna. He's another thing, you know. So this particular translation, in a way, went out of my hand, the feather which I was holding just went away, went out. And the feather was there in everybody's hand. So soft, so tender, giving so much of strength when it was sung. can we hear the song, please?
Yes, I have goosebumps and tears in my eyes after that rendition. And you know, Mamta, I've only seen you perform your poetry in person, but I couldn't have imagined how powerful it could be even through this medium. So I'm very, very grateful to you. I will share
Thank
my
you.
screen.
Thank you for bringing me here, you know.
Yeah, I'm sure
And
everybody.
even I'm loving sharing all
It
these things.
is nice to hear you.
Thank you.
Yeah, we could feel the goosebumps here, and like it was a very emotional experience as
This
well.
this is
Listening to
the
you
first
sing
time
that.
it was sung. This is the first time it was sung.
All of you can.
ಆಣೆ ಮಾಡಿ ಇಟ್ಟಂಥ ಆ ದಿನವ ಆಣೆ ಮಾಡಿ ಇಟ್ಟಂಥ ಆ ದಿನವ ಶಾಸನದಲ್ಲಿ ಬರೆದಿಟ್ಟ ಆ ದಿನವ ಶಾಸನದಲ್ಲಿ ಬರೆದಿಟ್ಟ ಆ ದಿನವ ನಾವು ನೋಡೋಣ ನಾವು ನೋಡೋಣ ನೋಡೇ ಬಿಡೋಣ ಅದೇನಂತ ನಾವು ನೋಡೋಣ ದಬ್ಬಾಳಿಕೆಯ ಒತ್ತಡದ ಬೆಟ್ಟಗಳು ದಬ್ಬಾಳಿಕೆಯ ಒತ್ತಡದ ಬೆಟ್ಟಗಳು ಹಕ್ಕಿಯ ಹಾಗೆ ಹಾಡಿ ಹೋದ ನಾವು ನೋಡೋಣ ನಾವು ನೋಡೋಣ ನೋಡೇ ಬಿಡೋಣ ಅದೇನಂತ ನಾವು ನೋಡೋಣ ಪಂಚೀಪರ ಕಾಲ ಕೆಳಗೇನೆ ಈ ಭೂಮಿ ಗಡಗಡ ನಡುಗೋದ ಪಂಚಿಗೆಟ್ಟವರ ಕಾಲ ಕೆಳಗೆ ಈ ಭೂಮಿ ಗಡಗಡ ನಡುಗೋದ ಆಳೋ ಪ್ರಭುಗಳ ತಲೆ ಮೇಲೆ ಸಿಡಿಲು ಸಿಡಿ ಸಿಡಿ ಸಿಡಿಯೋದ ನಾವು ನೋಡೋಣ ನಾವು ನೋಡೋಣ ನೋಡೇ ಬಿಡೋಣ ಅದೇನನ್ನ
Oh,
Sorry, I think there is.
no, that's okay. That was a little video. That's fine. I think that's fine. Let's get back to, yeah. And you can find more videos which show which have covered complete this thing. And yeah. So Hum Dekhenge is sort of like it's gone beyond my, like every poem, you know, once you write, you are out of it. The poem has its own jaan and jigger, and poem starts sharing its love, and it keeps going, you know. Yeah. So that was Hum Dekhenge, and yeah, and also I want to share some more things with you. And as part of these protests, you might have seen Pallavi in kurta and Bindu in t-shirt. Bindu is wearing a blue t-shirt, and along with this, we printed poems on the t-shirts. Okay, lines from poems. We wrote poems, we translated poems, brought everything on the t-shirts, and during Sankranti, we had kites being flown on. We were not getting permission, but we went into space where in old market in Shivaji Nagar, and we started flying the kite with poems on it and anti-CAA slogans and everything. And the whole sky was full of kites with lines, poems, and people were singing from Nietzsche, you know. They were trying to read it. It was such, so translation is, poetry translation is not from one language into other, one medium into other. It is the experience that you translate, you know. So why I'm giving these examples of t-shirts and kites is that is also of a poem itself is something very, very important. So that was Hum Dekhenge.
I think some people are wondering about an English translation. I don't know if we have time to read it. There is a great English translation of Hum Dekhenge as well.
Maybe you can share it with them
I can
later.
share it, yeah, yeah. If you all follow the Facebook page, I'll share it there, and hopefully, yeah. We have, I think, one more video, so maybe Mamta, you can talk about it.
That's a very dear video to me, and it's a very controversial video. And please don't think that I only do write poems for controversial things. Again, during as a political these things, of course I am. I am one person who is extremely political and get involved in all kinds of things. But I also write different kinds of poems. Maybe I should read one poem of mine in Kannada, and then maybe I should. Do we have time? We don't have time, right?
We can wrap up in the next 10-15 minutes. I would like people to also have a chance to say something after.
Okay. Okay. See, this is a poem. So when again, I'm connecting to whatever, see, without connecting to your surroundings, without connecting to wherever you are, whatever you're doing, the poem doesn't come. So at this tensed kind of an environment, do you really need a rule and regulation to write a poem? People ask, do you need to follow the rhythm? Do you need to follow the chandasu? Do you need to follow blah, 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 blah? So the title of the poem is Shistu Beke Kavitege. Do you really need a rule for a poem? So I will just read the Kannada. I'll read slowly. Maybe people can understand because most of the words are common in Hindi, Sanskrit, and South Indian languages. Shabdada kalige arthada mullu. Kunto shabda, kunyo artha. Astavyasta lokadalli shistu beke kavitege. ಶಬ್ದ ತತ್ತರಿಸುವಾಗ ತೊದಲುವಾಗ ತಡೆದು ನುಡಿವಾಗ ಅರ್ಥ ಹೊತ್ತ ಮಾತ ಮೈ ತೂರಾಡುತ್ತದೆ ಎಡವಿ ತಡವರಿಸಿ ನಡೆಯುತ್ತದೆ ಕವಿತೆಯೋ ಶಬ್ದದ ಅರ್ಥದ ಹಂಗು ತೊರೆದು ಶಬ್ದಾರ್ಥವ ಮೀರಿ ಮೋಹಕ್ಕೆ ವಶವಾಗುತ್ತದೆ ಹೆಕ್ಕಿದ ಪದಗಳು ಚಲ್ಲಾಪಿಲ್ಲಿ ಚಲ್ಲಿ ಹೋಗಿ ಕಟ್ಟುವುದಕ್ಕೆ ಕವಿತೆ ಕೈಗೆ ಸಿಕ್ಕದಾಗಿ ಮೋಹ ಮತ್ತಿನ್ನೇನು ಮೋಹಿಸಿದಷ್ಟು ಮತ್ತಷ್ಟು ಗುಣ ಮಾಡಿಸುತ್ತದೆ ಕಡಿವಾಣಗಳ ಕಳಚುತ್ತ ಸಂಕೋಲೆಗಳ ಸೀಳುತ್ತ ಪದ ಮುನ್ನಡೆದ ಹಾಗೆ ಚೆಲ್ಲಿ ಹೋದಲೆಲ್ಲ ಹೂ ಬಿಟ್ಟ ಪದಗಳು ಕೈ ತುಂಬ ಮೈ ತುಂಬ ಕವಿತೆ ಕಟ್ಟುವ ನಶೆ ಸಾಲುಗಳು ಒಂದರ ಹಿಂದೊಂದು ತೂರಾಡುತ್ತ ಅಮಲೇರಿ ಶಬ್ದದ ಅರ್ಥದ ಮೋಹದ ಮೆಲಕು ಹಾಕುತ್ತಿರುವಾಗ ಶಿಸ್ತು ಬೇಕೆ ಕವಿತೆಗೆ ಈ ಅಸ್ತವ್ಯಸ್ತ ಲೋಕದಲ್ಲಿ ಶಿಸ್ತು ಬೇಕೆ ಕವಿತೆಗೆ. Sorry. This is one little thing. Maybe when we talk, I can tell about the poem, more about it.
You are so rhythmic. I mean, it's beautiful to listen the sound.
No, Kannada language, I think every language has this. Only thing is
the way you recite, I would say the sound is, when conveys when someone recites it in a particular manner. So you have that beautiful manner of, reciting the poetry.
Thank you so much.
Very beautiful.
Okay, the next poem that we are doing is a poem that I wrote for a friend called Gauri Lankesh. You might have heard. The poem in English is titled as For Gauri. In Kannada, it is Gauri Ge. Okay, for Gauri Ge. And this poem was written when she was assassinated and sung by Vasu Dikshit, who is a musician who started the band called Swaratma. Swaratma is one thing which you have to hear. Vasu Dikshit and Bindu Malini have sung this poem. I think you can see the video. The Kannada poem is sung and the English translation comes up. So once we see this, maybe I can tell a little bit about the post translated issues. Mohini? Mohini?
धड़ धड़ा धड़ धड़ा धड़ धड़ा धड़ धड़ा धड़ धड़ा इसी गुंडू धड़ धड़ा इसी गुंडू ಒಂದಲ್ಲ ಎರಡಲ್ಲ ಸಾಲಾಗಿ ಏಳು ಒಂದಲ್ಲ ಎರಡಲ್ಲ ಸಾಲಾಗಿ ಏಳು ತೂರಿದ್ದು ಗೌರಿಗೆ ತಾಕಿದ್ದು ನಮ್ಮೆದೆಗೆ ತೂರಿದ್ದು ಗೌರಿಗೆ ತಾಕಿದ್ದು ನಮ್ಮೆದೆಗೆ ಧಡ ಧಡ ಇಸಿ ಗುಂಡು ಧಡ ಧಡ ಇಸಿ ಗುಂಡು ಹರಿವ ರಕ್ತದ ಕೊಡಿ ನಿಲ್ಲಲೊಲ್ಲದು ನೋಡಿ ಹರಿವ ರಕ್ತದ ಕೊಡಿ ನಿಲ್ಲಲೊಲ್ಲದು ನೋಡಿ ಹೆಪ್ಪುಗಟ್ಟಿದ ನೋವು ಮೀಗಲೊಲ್ಲದು ನೋಡಿ ಹೆಪ್ಪುಗಟ್ಟಿದ ನೋವು ಮೀಗಲೊಲ್ಲದು ನೋಡಿ ಏನಾಯ್ತು ಯಾಕಾಯ್ತು ಹೇಗಾಯ್ತು ಕೇಳದಿರಿ ಉಸಿರು ನಿಲ್ಲುವ ಮುನ್ನ ಮಾತಾಡಿರಿ ಮಾತಾಡಿರಿ ಧಡ 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 ಪ್ರೀತಿ ಬಿತ್ತಲು ಬಂದ ಎಲ್ಲರನ್ನೂ ಕೊಲ್ಲುವರು ಪ್ರೀತಿ ಬಿತ್ತಲು ಬಂದ ಎಲ್ಲರನ್ನೂ ಕೊಲ್ಲುವರು ದ್ವೇಷ ಬಿತ್ತಲು ಇವರು ಮುಂದಾದರು ದ್ವೇಷ ಬಿತ್ತಲು ಇವರು ಮುಂದಾದರು ಯಾರಿವರು ಯಾರಿವರು ನಾವಲ್ಲ ನೀವಲ್ಲ ಸಾಕಿನ್ನು ಸಾಕಿನ್ನು ಸತ್ಯಕ್ಕೆ ಗುರಿಯಿಟ್ಟ ಈ ಸಾವಿನಾಟ ಸತ್ಯಕ್ಕೆ ಗುರಿಯಿಟ್ಟ ಈ ಸಾವಿನಾಟ ಧಡ 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 ಇಸಿ ಗುಂಡು ಧಡ ಧಡ ಇಸಿ ಗುಂಡು ಒಂದಲ್ಲ ಎರಡಲ್ಲ ಸಾಲಾಗಿ ಏಳು ಒಂದಲ್ಲ ಎರಡಲ್ಲ ಸಾಲಾಗಿ ಏಳು ಸಪ್ತ ಸ್ವರಗಳ ಹಾಗೆ ಎದೆ ಸೀಳಿ ನೋವ ಹೊತ್ತು ಸಪ್ತ ಸ್ವರಗಳ ಹಾಗೆ ಎದೆ ಸೀಳಿ ನೋವ ಹೊತ್ತು ಹಾಡಾಯ್ತು ಈ ಹೊತ್ತು ಹಾಡಾಯ್ತು ಈ ಹೊತ್ತು ಹೊತ್ತು ನೋವಾಯದೆಯೊಳಗೆ ಹೊತ್ತು ನೋವಾಯದೆಯೊಳಗೆ ಬನ್ನಿ ಪ್ರೀತಿ ತನ್ನಿ ಬನ್ನಿ ಪ್ರೀತಿ ತನ್ನಿ ಬನ್ನಿ ಪ್ರೀತಿ ತನ್ನಿ
Bah.
Thank you. And she was assassinated on the 5th, and on the 12th we had organized a huge rally, and people from all over came in thousands, like a sea. They were coming into Bangalore to participate in the rally without being invited. People from villages walked, people from everywhere flew, and we were there, and the live performance was done on the stage by Vasu and his band, Vasu Bindu and his band. And I was there before they performed. I read the poem and then they performed it. And in the meanwhile, it had already gone viral. And it was also used by CNN, and many of the news channels used this video. And many of the films and documentaries around Gauri, has used this video. Now I want to share something. See, when something is written, a poem is written, the poem is written. But when it is translated into a different medium, either into a different language or into a video or into a visual or into an image or whatever the translation happens, then it calls for a lot of questioning. So as you saw, no, we decided to use the red letters to bring in the subtitles. Subtitles is the translation. So I was getting hundreds of phone calls, all through. Most of them asking me, why the hell did you write, and who are you, and was it needed, and be careful, tomorrow you will go through the same thing, all kinds of things as we expect, And one of the phone calls from Delhi, I don't want to share where and who, told me that you people, you poets are liars. You people ruin this world. People are so scared of poets, mind you. If you want to be powerful, be a poet. Okay. So people.
True, very true.
Yeah. And I was told you are a liar. Lying because the person was telling me in the entire song, you have said that there were 7 bullets. It was only 4 bullets which were shot at her. And the other 3 went somewhere else. We are that sensitive. No, this person is finding a fault, whether it was 7 bullets or 4 bullets. And the world is this. And we know how to hate people. We really don't know how to love people, At this point of time where there is so much of distance, physical distances, it's very important for us to hug people, share love and affection with people, and work against the hated kind of atmosphere that is going and which is literally using each and everything, including the coronavirus. So I think Mohini, now we can open this for a discussion. Mohini, do you want to say something?
I just want to say thank you so much, Mamta, for, we've gone through so many emotions in the last 1 hour. I'm sure everybody feels that as well. And I've heard you say these, I've heard the poem before, but every time I hear it, it's as powerful and as haunting. The music is haunting, the lyrics are haunting. So that was absolutely amazing. I'm really glad that, we could go through all of these, and you've talked about your experiences as well, which is so important. And I think the one sense that I wanted to have is...
One little thing I also want to share is, see, as translators in today's time, we are not sidelined. We are very important. Translators are needed to this world, and there are lots of groups within our country and internationally known which deals with translations. And I think all of them, are so sensitive. Otherwise, they wouldn't have come asking for people to meet, people to translate. They are bringing the world near to each other. They are bringing issues near to each other, trying to address various issues through different voices. One of Alexandra is with us today, and it would be lovely if she can say a few words about the whole issue of translating, because we have had really, really wonderful time in all these translation residencies, translation camps, and translation meets that we have been doing with her, and otherwise I am doing with her and with others as well. And in a way, they have also, these kinds of groups have also encouraged us to do works like what you are doing and what I am doing, independently with small groups within our spaces. I always believe in decentralizing. So I have been connecting with young people, young and old, from smaller areas where they cannot access, and translation is very important. And it's not easy to become a translator. To become a translator, you need to read a lot. You need to know what is happening in this world. It's not just poems. You should be sensitive to those things that keep this world safe and makes this world feel the feather.
I completely agree with you because I've been, earning my bread and butter through translation since very long, and I was connected with BBC News also for translation, and I understand the, uh, importance of sound and importance of you sharing language, because when someone, and I'm fond of words and translation. I
Your
see
good
the
name,
film.
please. Your
Huh?
name, please.
My name is Mayurika Maya. I'm from Gujarat. I do write poetry in my language, in Hindi also. And I read a lot. I mean, when you started with this, this Hum Dekhenge. So I have heard this song for many a times, thousands of times, and I kept on singing also. So I relate with you. Where your everything you told about translation, everything you told about the connection of the language and people and emotions. I want to share one story. While I was married to a Malayali guy, being a Gujarati, and I was learning Malayalam language. At that time, there was a Onam day, and I was asked to sing a Malayali song. I didn't ask anyone in the family that which song I should sing in my class, but I just asked for one cassette of songs in the house. At that time, these tape recorder cassettes were used. I'm talking about since 25 years back, and I chose this Surya Kiridam Venurangam Ravintiruvaranya. And this was, a morning poetry like song. Every Malayali liked it. I didn't know what it means because I was in the initial stage of learning. So I selected that song, heard 50 times, and sung with correct sounds. So my teacher came to my wedding. This was before my marriage. So came to my wedding and said to my mother-in-law that your Bahu, being Gujarati, without knowing language, so beautifully she sang the song. So the first song I selected to sing in my life in publicly, that was Malayalam. I selected it through the sound, and I got the emotions through the sound. So this was, connects. This something that connected me to the things you told.
Yeah. Thank you so much. Mohini, anybody else?
Yeah, I think Alexandra, we'd love to hear from you as well. Mamta had invited you to say something about translation, and I can't think of a better way to.
Yeah.
And it demands a lot of reading while you want to translate.
And Mayurika, I'm really happy that you're here. We haven't connected, but I would love to get your email address and send you more.
I am in Tara Shakti group, and due to my BBC connection, I was connected with Tara and in her group. So I get through your this Zoom meeting today from that group.
Okay.
So I felt it interesting to connect, so I came up.
Excellent.
Thank you for connecting me with her.
So let me just say hello to everyone. I'm Alexandra Buchler. I'm sitting in the UK. It's very sunny here. We have beautiful spring, and we're all locked in our houses. So first of all, Mohini, thank you so much for setting this up. It's really great to see this initiative. Mohini came to Wales, to the UK, as a fellow in a program which we have been running for 4 years now, It's funded by the Charles Wallace India Trust, and she was the fellow 2 years ago. And she was working on translation of poetry for children. And one of her aims was to set up an initiative like this. And this obviously is not just for children's poetry, but it's something that brings translators and poets together. The other initiative I want to mention is the translation workshops, poetry translation workshops that Mamta brought up. And this is really how we met with Mamta many years ago. We have been running translation workshops which bring poets together to translate each other's work, although they may not know each other's language. So they do it through a bridge language, which is usually English. And Mamta has participated in a number of these workshops, both in India and also in the UK. And it's great to see you, Mamta. Mm-hmm. I think if there is a silver lining, if one can even say that, that there is a silver lining in this crisis, it is that we do connect actually more with people, because suddenly, we have all this technology, and we don't feel that we really, can only connect when we're in the same room or in the same city. So thank you for this talk. It was really great to reconnect like this. Thanks.
Thank you, Alessandra.
And as for, talking about translation, I could just go on and on and on, but essentially, yes, you need to read a lot. You read original writing, read translations. If you have access to the language from which the translation was made, even sit down and compare the translation with the original. And at the same time, just enjoy reading translations. And I think every good translator is also a writer. Again, this is, nothing new, but we have to acknowledge that some translators may not actually write their own texts, but still they are also writers. They are authors in their own right. So I look forward to more of these events. Yes. And we actually have with us here in Wales another fellow who started. I don't know if he's joined us.
Shalim is
here. I'm here.
Shalim, are you here?
Yeah, I'm here.
Great. Okay. So. Just very quickly, I'd like to introduce Shalim Hussain, who is a poet and translator, and he came to the UK just as the coronavirus crisis started. So he's been sitting alone, locked in lockdown on our campus in Lampeter. But he's been really very good about it, and he has been working very hard on translations of the Mia poets, the Bengali Muslims in Assam. And it occurred to me that maybe we could do one of these sessions with him.
I think it's important. Yeah, I think we should.
Yeah.
Welcome, Salim.
Thank you, Mamta. I have a question for you, if you don't mind.
Yes, please.
I enjoyed your, the song which was based on your translation, wonderful song. But I was wondering, did you try to translate your translation back to English or to Urdu?
Which one? No, I didn't. I didn't. But my translation was translated into Tamil.
Okay.
See, because Tamil and Kannada, that particular para is very different. So right. Tamil, I got it done. Like we were sitting in my house, Bindu Malini and me. Suddenly I said, another friend, Manga, I said, she has to translate. It was 2:00 in the night. I called her and said, do this now. So she did it. And it also went viral, and Bindu has sung in Tamil.
Okay.
It
No,
was
I'm
not
asking this.
translated.
Sorry to interrupt.
Yeah, no.
Yeah, I'm asking this because in our Mia poetry corpus, we have this translation of Mahmood Darwish, which started the entire movement, in fact. So it came to us via an English translation, then got retranslated into English, then retranslated into a local dialect, then to Assamese, and then to multiple languages all over India. So with every translation, the meaning changed. And it became very localized. So I was wondering what you have done with Faiz's original poem. I mean, I would like to know what deviations have occurred when you translated it to Kannada. Now I don't understand Kannada, so
I know.
Probably retranslating it to English would be nice.
Yeah, and maybe we can talk about this separately. I will in detail tell you what all I did. Okay.
Absolutely.
And that
That'd be
particular para with Kaaba and Allah, which is visually Islamic, though it is not. Okay. So that is something which disturbed or distracted or was a reason for people to go halla gulla around that poem. So that particular visual was transferred or recreated in Kannada. And the temple was brought in, and the god was made to walk out of the temple. So I usually, I believe in visuals. When I read a poem, whether you understand me or not, with your experience, you should be able to see something, through the sounds. Similarly, this even when I read, I see. So this particular poem, that particular para, I was just wondering what made these people call it as anti-Hindu. And the visual did. It was the visual. So I changed the visual.
That's very interesting. I mean, we have a translation of this poem even in our regional dialect, which is very different from the original. And very different even from all other versions, even from Iqbal Bano's performance. So probably we should discuss it in private.
Yeah. Let us do that sometime. Yeah.
Anybody else who hasn't spoken yet, if they'd like to come in with something, what they thought of the session, something that it reminded you of, anything at all? There are some new faces here as well.
Hi, can I go?
Yes, please.
Yeah. Hi, Mamta. Thank you so much for your thoughts on translation. And,
please tell me
and of course your
name.
Sorry. I'm
here, Anirudh. Yeah, I can see. Yes.
I'm from Karnataka, basically. So I know. Yeah. But I'm pursuing my PhD in Delhi, in Ambedkar University.
Good. Lovely.
Yeah, I really.
What are you working on?
I'm actually that you talked about. I'm working on the Bhakti movement in Karnataka. So I'm basically looking at the post-colonial literatures that has focused on the Bhakti movement. So I'm interested in looking at why it has become important for these writers to focus on the 12th century Bhakti movement in the post-independence era. So I'm basically looking at that.
I just completed a course on Vachana with the students, and comparing it to the contemporary time and talking about Taledanda and Vachana.
Yeah, exactly. There are many plays written on that.
Anirudh,
When it comes to Bhakti movement, Girish Karnad's Taledanda is a must, to talk about.
Yeah. No, that's true.
I'm a literature student.
Anirudh, you wanted to say something.
Yeah, Mamta, I really liked your, all the renditions, and thank you so much for that. I have a question. I'm basically a translator, so I translate from Kannada into English, and some of the poems have been published as well. But I was quite uncomfortable, and I was not very happy about the translation that I've done. Because of the reason, so I've translated a writer named Uchali Prasad. So he's from Davangere. So
I know. He was recently into problem. Yeah, I know.
Yeah, exactly. So he writes in the specific dialect of Davangere.
Yeah, I know that.
So yeah, for me the problem was the translating the dialect. so which I really couldn't give, I felt I really couldn't give justice to it. Though, I mean, it was published and it sounded fairly well in English, but I was not convinced about the translation at all. So I had this very, I don't know, I was not comfortable at all. So I just wanted to know your...
See, Anirudh, that is why I am telling you that, the poem doesn't happen on the page. It happens only when you render it.
When you render it.
If at all you are rendering his poem, what you could do is you could begin reading in English, every now and then bring his Kannada into that.
Okay.
Not translate it, not literally translate the poem. Okay.
Yeah,
you read your poem every now and then, bring those punching words, because I'm familiar with this poem. That's why I'm telling you. So your translation from Kannada, it's not just English. It sounds, the sound which accompanies your translation, it also brings justice to his work. It can happen in rendition, because English, you cannot use some other dialect, which we don't use. Indian English itself is diverse. Okay. So I've seen some people, when they pick up a text from some rural or some other dialect, which is not a mainstream dialect in whatever language, they pick some dialect from the African language, which is very wrong.
Yeah.
I don't believe that. It's really, really wrong. You are not doing justice either to the English or to whatever language you choose. The only way to do is maybe, the translation. That's why, where are you located in Karnataka?
I'm from Tiptur, actually. So I'm from the Mysore region. Yeah.
Okay. Next time you come down, get in touch with me. Come for a Kavya Sanjay. Okay. So what we do in Kavya Sanjay is, like, some of the poems that are translated into Kannada, like, for example, if it is Hindi or Tamil, like I've translated Salma's beautiful poem about the body. Okay. So what I do is, I don't know any Tamil. I mean, I can understand, but I see every now and then the metaphors from that poem are loudly thrown when I'm reading in Kannada. When you read English, this poem, whatever the lines are, that should either overlap it or come next to it, or you should be silent for a while and takar, it should come. So the translation is not just something that happens on the page. Especially translations, when you have problems like this, you need to perform. You need to see the translation in a different context and different way to put forth.
Yeah.
Try that.
Yeah.
Get in touch with me.
Sure. Thank you so much.
Okay. Yeah. Good to talk to you. Yeah.
Thank you. Anyone else who wants to come in with what they thought?
Hi.
Hi,
Mamta ma'am. Yes, I study management at Vedika, and this was my first time in a translation, a live session like this. And I had some amazing learning that I'm taking away from this. Even from the beginning of the session, where you told, that if today's generation, they want to even discard something, they must study it, they must at least learn about it, and then if they want to discard it, they can. And also about how the religious verses and even mantras and shlokas are nothing but poetry. That was something really beautiful. And ma'am, all your renditions that you talked about, and the poetry about Gauri, that really touched me. Even I had goosebumps right here. So I'm really fortunate to be in this session, and I'm taking a lot of learning, and especially the line where you said, if you want to be powerful, be a poet. I think that was wonderful. Thank you, ma'am, so much.
See, if somebody comes to hit me, I'll start reciting a poem. So they will just stay there. Hope that doesn't
you really
happen.
recite very well. One would love to listen it for longer time.
Thank you. Thank you.
Yeah, it was
some other time.
Performance poetry, and I know that we are sort of running over time, but it's an informal meeting. So as long as you all are fine being here, thank you so much for sparing your Thursday evening where you could be I don't know, watching things, eating things. But I'm
Mohini, this whole lockdown has, in a way, it started like let me talk for myself, not for everyone. Okay. For me, maybe I didn't have time for myself. All the time, you will be busy doing this, doing that. Early morning, you wake up, run to the work, then do a lot of work, come back home. By the time you come back, there are people at home and you talk to them or go to some event and do something, get into some political thing, go to some dharna. Like all the time you keep thinking about, because the time is like that, thinking about what the hell will happen, where the hell are we going, what is going to happen to this world, what is going to happen to this country. This was going on. It doesn't mean that it has stopped, but now being at home, you have slowed down. Again, you keep thinking about that, but now there is some kind of a clarity, some kind of something, and you also know that, well, everything else is gone. There is nothing, nothing can sustain. It can just go away, vanish. Why don't people understand that? Why don't they want to be happy? Why do they want to use even small little speck of a thing? They would want to misuse it. All these, it's something kind of philosophical, and I don't know what it is, like gradually it opens up and you start thinking about yourself. And we have a drumstick tree next to our house. All the drumstick comes on our terrace like parijata. Okay. So every day, almost every once in 2 days or every day, lots of drumsticks are coming. Maybe the tree knows that people need it. I never realized that the tree was, so many drumsticks were there. It was there. Now, we pluck it and give it to people. Now, there is something that is happening, This beautiful tree is giving something and asking me to give it to others, This deed I would have never done.
No, you're right. I think all of us are facing that in some way or the other. Yeah. And sometimes it feels like too much unstructured time, but then at other times, you are very grateful for the time that you have to yourself, and just away from running from one thing to another at all times.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I think we can wrap up on this very beautiful note. And Mamta, again, I can't thank you enough for spending time with us and sharing your poems, and all of you who were so engaged. We had such an active chat box. I'm really glad about that, and I'm glad that this could reach so many of you. So please feel free to follow the page. We'll be doing this every week on Thursday at 7 p.m. We'll be getting in somebody who'll read their poems, talk about translation, talk about different aspects. Today was activism. Next week we'll talk about, I think, transcreation. There's a wonderful translator called Saif Mahmood who will be speaking next week. So I'll share details on my page, and if some of you want to drop in your email addresses, I'll share the details on email as well. And
thank you very much.
Thank you,
and
Mohini.
I would like to thank everyone. It was beautiful, and I loved this group, and it was really, really nice.
It was really beautiful to
Please
connect.
stay in touch.
Thank you, Mamta.
Thank you, Mohini, for connecting us.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, everyone. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.